Hi, I'm Jill from Homeschool for Real Life, and I'm here to share with you another math game. This one is called Absolute Zero, and it's great for if you're working on negative numbers. Before we get into it, make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss any of our educational game reviews. So the game is actually pretty simple in its components. It does come with this really nice plastic box to keep the cards in. I appreciate that, especially if you're going to be tossing it in a bag to bring it with you places. And then these are the cards, and they're very simple, nice looking cards. Positive numbers are black, negative numbers are red. And each set goes from 1 to 12. So 1 to 12 and in black and 1 to negative 12 in red. So you could play all of the games that we're going to talk about here with a regular deck of cards, because you could choose a black suit to be positive, a red suit to be negative, and then for your 11 and 12 you could just use your jack and queen or something like that, and for a 1 use your aces. So you could do that without purchasing this game, but it's kind of nice to see the number in number form and word form. They're really crisp, clean cards. So it's not a very expensive game. In my opinion, it's kind of worth it. Plus you get the set of directions for the different games that we're going to talk about here. All right, so the namesake game, Absolute Zero, in that case, you're going to deal every player 3 to 5 cards. And this game is designed for 2 to 4 players. So if you have 2 players playing, you probably want to deal 5 cards. And you have a deck and a discard pile. And so each player is going to turn over their cards, and they're going to find the sum of their cards, adding them up, and the winner is the first one to get a sum of 0. So you have to add the positives, which here I have 14, and your negatives, which here I have negative 19. So right now I'm at negative 5 for this hand. Over here we have negative 11 plus negative 8 is negative 19, and a positive 13, so I'm at negative 6. And so basically, each turn you're going to draw one card, either from the discard or from the deck. And then you're going to decide if you want to keep that one, if that helps balance things out a little bit, and discard. So you can discard the one you drew or another one. And so basically you just take turns going back and forth until one player can say 0 with their 5 cards, or if you have 4 players, you'd probably only want to deal 3 cards, but they'd have to be equal to 0. Positives about this game: you're constantly adding up positive and negative numbers. So it's a lot of practice with that. And there's some strategy involved depending on what you keep and choose to get rid of, and if you're counting cards, if you know what's been played already. But my one problem with this game is you can kind of tend to just be drawing, discard, if you end up looking for one certain card. Especially like we've played with 4 cards before, and so you can kind of try to just pair them up and have negative 8, positive 8, negative 5, positive 5. So you end up just kind of not sure what to keep, just drawing and waiting for the right card. So I don't love that part of this game, but it is good practice because you're constantly having to add the positives and negatives. All right, so other possibilities for gameplay. They've actually included with the game these cards that have the rules. So that's a nice thing, is this is it for Absolute Zero. This is the entire set of rules. So there's really it's not complicated. There's not a lot to learn. They've also included a game called Find the Difference. And this one is my favorite of what they've included here. So what you do, they suggest having a number line, and this is the one we used when we played. Oops, I have it. There it is. This is the one we used when we played. I ran out of room, so it doesn't go 0 to 12 and negative 12. It goes 0 to 9 and negative 9. I figured that was good enough because my kids have this skill down pretty well. But we just made this one real fast and laid it out there so that you could see it and use it if you wanted to. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. So in this case, you're going to deal out the entire deck. Now, They say that only 2 players can play, but that's not true because we changed the rules a little bit. Of course, we always do that. So let's say we have dealt out the entire deck here to 3 players. Let's pretend that these are even. So what you're going to do on your turn, you'll just have to pick somebody to go first. So let's say I'm first. I lay a card out in the center. And then every player is going to flip one off the top of their deck. So all the cards played are just off the top of the deck. You're not looking. And so you're finding the difference between your number and the center card. So in this case, this person is 2 away. Here, you're 16 away because 8 up from 0 and 8 down from 0, 16 difference, then 1. And so this person has the biggest difference, so they're going to collect all 4 cards, and then they're going to be the one to lay that extra card in the middle since they just took all those cards. And once again, everyone will lay their card to compare and find who has the largest difference from that card. So that's how we played it. The way that they suggest here in the directions, all players turn over their top 2 cards. They find the difference between their cards, and the person with the largest difference takes all 4 cards, and that's only for 2 players. So instead, we did it so that each person's only using one of their cards each turn, which allowed us to have more players playing. You also could buy more than one deck, or let's say you're using a regular deck of cards, you have 2 suits of red and 2 suits of black, so you could easily double it right there, what you have. And so then you could have more players playing and you wouldn't use up the cards as quickly. But we really liked the way we were playing, where each player laid only 1 card, except the player who had just taken the last trick, and they laid the center card. That worked great. So I really liked this game because every time you're thinking about the difference between the positive and negative number, or 2 negatives, it was a lot of math going on. So that was a really great practice, and the gameplay worked really well. I liked it a lot. The other game they suggest is addition and multiplication war. And again, of course, we don't play the way they say. So let me gather these up just a minute. Okay, so to play war, you're going to split the deck evenly. We'll go with their rules first. So they say you have 2 players, you deal out the entire deck, so it's split evenly. Each player is going to simultaneously flip over the card of their own deck. Then both players have to add or multiply, depending on which version of the game you're playing, the 2 numbers together and call out the answer. The first player to call out the answer, the sum or the product, wins the round and collects both of the cards that were just played. And you just keep doing this until the decks run out. The person who collects the most cards wins. Again, we played differently. So the way we did this, we had 3 players, once again. We also added in a die. I happen to have these dice that have dry erase material on each side. And so 2 sides have the positive symbol, plus symbol. 2 sides have the negative symbol. 2 sides have 0. So you could do this with a regular die just by putting a little piece of blue tape on there, masking tape or something, and writing those on. You could do it with a regular die as well. You could also use a spinner. So what we did is each turn, someone would roll the die, and that's the goal, closest to 0. And so we played like the way I talked about before, where one player would lay the center card, then everyone would flip over one of their own cards. And so you could still be playing the addition or multiplication war game, whichever you choose, whichever is more appropriate practice for your kids. We played the multiplication game, and so we multiplied our own card times the center card. And in this round, we're looking for closest to 0. So here I have positive 72 when I multiply those, positive 6, negative 12. So the positive 6 is closest to 0, so this player would take all of those cards, and then they would be the one to lay the center card. Now, they also get to roll the die. This time we're looking for the most positive. So here we have positive 35 when we multiply those, negative 35, and positive 20. So this player has the most positive number, most positive product. So they would take all of them. Lay the center card, roll. Let's say we got negative this time. Everyone lays out a card. Positive 40, negative 35, negative 50. So this time this player is taking all of it because their product is most negative. So you could do that with addition or subtraction again, but we found that this was a fun way to be able to play with 3 players. I like the game. I like the components of it. I think it's nicely designed. I like that they've given us several different ways to play the game. But as usual, we've made some modifications that for us made the game a little more fun and allowed us to have more than just the 2 players. So let me know what you think of the game. If you have any other gameplay ideas. Thank you for joining me for this review of Absolute Zero. Educational games are a great way to keep your kids learning while they're having fun. And we review a lot of them here on this channel, so make sure you subscribe. Thanks!